So it doesn't matter what offense you're facing in Madden 25, you will be facing the whip route. Some players call it a pivot route, and you're also going to see the inverted version of this route that is called a return pattern. The reason for this is that these routes are the most consistent man-beating routes in the game, and you can utilize them against zone for late checkdowns in a play after you've exhausted all your resources looking for the deep shot, and the user has to be on this route in order to guard it. That is, unless you guys watch the rest of this video, because today we are going to be breaking down the best ways to stop whips and return routes with man and zone adjustments. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, get out your notepad, and let's get after it. To illustrate the best version of the return route or the zig route, we are going to be breaking this down out of the trips tight end flex. You guys should be no stranger to the play known as motion Y post. Most players will use this as a complete base offense for attacking anything in the game. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to start off with one of my favorite teaching points that you guys can use against a zig route or a return route. Doesn't matter whether they break inside or outside. And that is going to be the seam flat adjustment. Now you can find a seam flat in a cover 3 matched base play. You could also put these on the field out of any play that you want. So I'll show you guys both ways here, starting with a cover 3 match. So the seam flat assignment is the assignment that we have on our nickel corner right here, Herb Adderley. This assignment is designed specifically for the second receiver in an offensive formation. So we always number outside to inside. So Keenan Allen on the far outside is number 1. DJ Moore in the middle of our trips is number 2. A seam flat always relates to number 2 in your formation. And this adjustment is going to be great because this is the position in the trips tight end flex that is going to be running the zig or the pivot. Now, when we start off here with this, you're going to notice that the seam flat is going to basically wall off this adjustment. And you see that with no effort, no adjustment whatsoever, just a seam flat on the field. This is easy pickings, pun intended. So you see here that we're in a cover 3 match based play, and that Herb Adderley is going to basically not give up separation like he would in a traditional man-to-man. In fact, he undercuts this route and runs the route for DJ Moore, and this gets us an interception. And the cool thing about this is that this also applies to the other type of whip route, the one that breaks to the outside. So we have one here in this play known as halfback angle. I want you to watch how he plays against DJ Moore when he's running it the other direction to the outside. So we snap the football. Does this look like a throw I can make? Certainly not. And you see right there, that's a pick 6 if I just go ahead and run it back the other direction. And I'm going to show this to you out of a variety of other looks here, just to kind of show you that this adjustment is super effective. So right here, we have this play known as PA read in the spread flex. What is our number 1 rule about the seam flat? It must be guarding the number 2 receiver. Well, fortunately for us, DJ Moore is the number 2 receiver in this formation. So when I go to snap this ball, you're going to see that his zig route is not going to be open against the seam flat, and it's going to be a pick 6. So I'm shutting down the return route over the middle out of trips tight end flex, whip routes to the outside out of trips tight end, or a spread set. But this has all been cover 3 match. Well, one of the things that you can do when you're facing this type of offense is actually just put this assignment on the field in general. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come out in a cover 2. And let's just say that I know for certain my opponent is going to throw the ball to the middle receiver. I'm not in a play with a seam flat, and I need one on the fly. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Herb Adderley, and I'm just going to do the left stick up hot route adjustment, which is going to change him into a seam flat. And now we're right back in the same situation where he's going to be able to shut this route down. Again, you see right here, he basically runs the route for the wide receiver. It's never open. Now, one thing that I will suggest to you is to pay attention to your defensive back's leverage with this adjustment. The reason that I say that is that sometimes when you're on base align, this will widen out the stance of the DB, or sometimes it pulls them to the inside. And that will oftentimes allow for them to kind of bump into the guy. You see right there, it was totally fine. But in other formations, such as like dollar or the 1-4, sometimes that slot corner lines up much differently, and that can end up being not so great for you. So I'll show you an example here where oftentimes my DB's feet get tangled. You see right here how he's lined up, in this particular position here. A lot of times I set up a defense that looks like this. It's a cover 3 match loop blitz. And when I go to snap the ball, sometimes he'll step on his feet and get separation back over the middle. And that's what you see right there in that example. So in those situations, pay attention. If you notice for whatever reason that your seam flat is getting cooked really, really easily, usually the simple trick is just to move him inside just a little bit. You don't have to do too much, moving him 10 yards or whatever. Just a couple steps will get the job done. And you'll see here that he'll be right back to shutting down this route. I mean, that he threw right at Adderley right there. So, you know, he's running the route for the receiver. And again, this won't impact too much how it works against a whip to the outside. Even if you say, oh, well, you know, you move the guy inside, isn't the whip going to get open? No, that's not really the case too much here with this. So again, if I were to snap this ball and he runs the whip to the other side, look at how Adderley basically undercuts this. This is an interception every single time. But it's very, very important to understand that this only applies to the second receiver in the formation. Okay, now we're going to get into adjustments that you can use for whips and returns when you don't necessarily know who's running the route, and this will help you more in general than just a specific adjustment against a specific spot on the field. But before we go there, I know you're enjoying this video because we're showing how to shut down the most prominent route in the game that everyone runs. This is a tip that you guys could have had on my strategy website, Gridiron Game Plans, months ago. I'm talking back in, honestly, like October, September. Yeah, I put so much content on the website this year that it's hard to remember the exact timestamps. But we've been shutting down whips and return routes since launch, basically. And if you guys want to check out the best deal in the tip space, $9.95 a month will unlock everything that I put out on the website since launch, and it will continue to give you all the new content that I upload weekly into our vault, which is focused on the pro meta for the most effective tactics available. The most effective tactic on offense, a whip route or a return route. We focus on why they work and how to counter them, much like this YouTube video. So if you guys like this video, you're sure to enjoy Gridiron Game Plans. Make sure you guys hop in our Discord, over 2,000 members, lab sessions in there every single week. Just had one last night. Really awesome time with everybody in there. Make sure you guys go check it out. Best deal in the tip space. Now back to the video. So the truth is, the second receiver is oftentimes going to be the whip guy in most offenses anyway. So the seam flat adjustment is really, really good. But what happens when you're facing someone that, you know, runs them from various positions on the field? Maybe they have a hot route master and they can put any slot receiver on one, or maybe they run an obscure offense where the third receiver in the formation is the one running the double move. What do you do against those types of players? Well, what we're going to do here is I'm just going to show you an overall adjustment that I absolutely adore against any whip or zig in the game. And that is going to be the shaded down vertical hook. So a vertical hook is found in a cover 2 base play. And what we're going to be doing in this is we're just going to shade the coverage down by hitting Y and then down on the right stick. For this, keep in mind that this is a universal shade. So every single zone on the field gets shaded down. If you guys want to fix this, what you need to do is go ahead and change your hard flats back to cloud flats. That way they are playing at the correct depth. Now, what we have in this is a hook zone curl. These are the stock zones found in a cover 2. We will get to the vertical hook here momentarily, but let's show you what a shaded down hook zone curl looks like. So once again, we're running this return pivot route over the middle. Let's run just the meta setup for this play. We snap the ball, and you're going to see here that the shaded down hook curl or hook zone curl does an okay job. My biggest issue with the hook zone curl, and you guys are going to see this when I contrast this against the vertical hook here, is that if your opponent has any other middle attacking route on the field, like for instance, right here, we have Roma Dunze on this slant. You notice how it just kind of pulled him just a little bit. It's not a lot, but if I'm an offensive player and I see that, I probably get rid of the ball now. So that way I'm catching the ball like it's a hitch route rather than waiting for it to break back over the middle. But you see right there that the hook zone curl does a pretty good job shaded down. Let's go ahead now and contrast this with the vertical hook. So I'm going to set up the exact same defense here, and I'm going to go ahead and put this player into a vertical hook. To do this, it is left stick down on your hot route adjustment. So this changes him from a hook zone curl to a vertical hook. Now we're going to shade the coverage down overall. And if you want to go ahead and re-cloud your hard flats, that's up to you. Now what you're going to see is a slight change in the behavior. He might step over the middle a little bit, but you're going to notice there's much better width towards the seam in this shaded down vert hook. So you see right here, he's going to end up basically being all over that. They're essentially the same zone. So if you guys call a cover 2 and shade down, you're probably fine. But to me, I much prefer the logic of the vertical hook, because they also do a quite good job of guarding the whip to the outside as well. So again, here, it's just going to be kind of up to you how you guys want to do this. Again, you don't have to be base aligned with this. You could leave them in a standard alignment there. But you're going to see here this whip route shaded down against the vertical hook. The problem with the vertical hook shaded down is that oftentimes you're going to want a hard flat because that route is breaking down and away from them. So what I will oftentimes do when I am dealing with a whip route to the outside, we know that we can guard the return pivot with the shaded down vertical hook, but the zig to the outside is kind of the issue. One of my things that I tend to do is I just leave the coverage overall shaded down if I'm not sure whether it's a route that's going to break back over the middle or go to the outside. So I'll just play an overall shade down, and then I will basically take my coverage and roll it towards the trips by creating kind of like a cover 3 hybrid. And this allows me to basically guard a zig or whatever on the right side manually. And I know that I've got either the pivot back over the middle guarded by the shaded down hook zone curl vertical hook, or the whip to the outside guarded by the hard flat. Now we're in a much better situation where no matter what they run, we're equipped. You see right here, I can't throw this whip to either player. So whip zig doesn't matter. It's going to end up being a pick 6 if you have a shaded down vertical hook with a hard flat. So again, what would you rather use? For me, I'd much rather use the seam flat. But again, the seam flat's only in the middle receiver. If you guys are dealing with the inside most receiver, which I don't have a hot route master here, admittedly, because Caleb doesn't have that. But if Odunze's running the whips and the zigs, the shaded down vertical hook is going to guard both. It is so hard to throw to the inside receiver on this. Okay. So those are going to be the primary zone adjustments. And to be totally truthful with you, I think that these are the best adjustments you guys can use for defending whips and zigs. But some of you out there like to run man to man. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a suggestion for your man to man. And a lot of players don't really know this, but man to man is all about default shading. Okay. So one of the things with man is players don't understand that cover 1 and cover 0 aren't just man coverage. There's an actual technique that is being played by the man to man. So when you think about the way that all these players are aligned, right? Think about where the help is. When you talk about a slot corner, you basically are going to be in a situation where the help is to the inside. So what that means is that because there is a deep middle third, high inside, and there is a hook zone defender low and inside, you're going to oftentimes with this particular coverage, cover 1, get basically kind of like an outside technique on a defender. So what that means is that the whip route over the middle is going to be much more likely to win. And you see right there that that's the case. I'm able to throw that, and I've got a ton of room to move. Well, that's bad against the return pivot, but it's not necessarily the end of the world against the whip route overall to the outside because of the technique. Now, again, whips and pivots beat man-to-man coverage in this game. So what I'm telling you is just these are leverages. It doesn't mean they can never get beat, but you'll notice a better performance of your cover 1 against the route to the outside. Now, again, it's still open, right? I had to throw it into a weird spot. But one of the things that you can do within your man coverage, regardless of what you're in, is if you know which player is running the route and which direction they're running, you can do what's called individual shading. So what I'll do is I'll come out, if I'm worried about man coverage, getting beat by a whip or a zig or a pivot or whatever you want to call it, we're going to start off with a universal shade, which is down. So to this, you're going to hit Y, right stick down. That's going to put everybody in their man coverage. They're going to jump low. Then from there, we're going to do an individual shade on the route that I want to guard. So specifically DJ Moore. If I'm worried about him breaking inside, I'm going to hit Y, A for individual. I'm going to choose DJ Moore's icon, which is Y. And I'm going to flick the right analog stick left or right based off of which way I want to shade. So in this case, I'm going to hit shade right. You saw the guy flinched over the middle. What that's going to do is put him in a shade down from our universal adjustment and a shade inside from an individual's perspective. So now what that does is that hopefully puts him in the best spot possible to guard a whip route back over the middle. But as you can see, these routes are literally designed to be man killers. It just honestly doesn't care what your technique is. All right. So when in doubt, play a seam flat, right? You know, if you're out there and you want to play man-to-man cover 1 against everyone on the field, but you know for darn certain that the guy in the middle is running a whip, just put a seam flat on the field. Like, don't be that guy. Don't just sit in man-to-man and then say I shaded, because obviously we're showing you here that shading is bad. But if you know what you're doing, you're going to be in a spot where the guy can basically smother it, as long as you understand the techniques. Again, if you get your feet stepped on in a seam flat, just leave them in this inside leverage. Then from there, play your coverage however you want. It's totally up to you. My recommendation on this would probably be to be playing over the top. We know that if the guy goes vertical anyways, that he's going to end up being matched by the seam flat. And you see right here that now you can't throw the whip. We got a little cover one loop pressure. We fused it all together. So what's the moral of the story? Seam flats, amazing. Shaded down vertical hooks, amazing. Man coverage, individual shade, okay. Probably bad. Again, use the seam flats, use the vertical hooks, make those coverage adjustments on the spot, give yourself help. It's much easier to say, you know what, I'm gonna play cover one, I'm gonna play a vertical hook, I'm gonna shade down, and I'll just give help. You know, way easier to just bite the bullet and play your coverage that way than to sit there and wonder why your man coverage isn't working 8 months into the game. It's just so much easier to play the game this way and understand the individual adjustments you need to put on the field. That's going to do it for me today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below. I will see you guys later this afternoon with a short, or I will see you guys on Monday with another long form video upload. Hope you guys are liking the content lately. Make sure you guys are subscribed. I'll see you guys then. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.